Well, also some new details now about the phone call between President-elect Trump and Russian President Vladimir Putin. Both men agreeing that relations between the two countries are, they say, unsatisfactory, and they vow to improve them. President Putin saying this, quote, "As I've repeatedly said, that is not our fault that Russian-American relations are in that poor state. But Russia is ready and wants to restore the full-fledged relations with the United States." Well, Mr. Trump's transition team said, quote, President-elect Trump noted to President Putin that he is very much looking forward to having a strong and enduring relationship with Russia and the people of Russia. So what does all this mean? KT McFarland joins us. She's a Fox News national security analyst, former Deputy Assistant Secretary of Defense in the Reagan administration, and is also on President-elect Trump's National Security Advisory Committee. KT, good to see you. So
long title.
We'll get to that in a minute. So they have this telephone conversation, right, and then just a couple of hours later, apparently, Russia launches what they call a major air assault and bombing of Aleppo. Some are worrying that Mr. Trump's election may give Mr. Putin a green light. Basically, he'll be unrestrained. What do you think?
You know, first of all, the conversations like this, phone calls, congratulatory phone calls, happen all the time. We do it when other countries elect new leaders, so that's normal. Number two, there's only one president at a time in the United States, and so Donald Trump, even though he has just won by an extraordinary earthquake and an overwhelming landslide, and now is the most powerful political figure in the world.
Well, landslide in the Electoral College.
Well, no, but he now has both houses of Congress, and he went to war against the mainstream media, the Republican and Democratic establishments, the two political machines, the Bush and the Obama and the Clinton political machines, which has dominated American politics for a generation. He wanted, you know, the think tanks, the establishment, the cartels, the lobbyists, the donor class,
you know what,
and he beat them all.
Some of the concern is, and the worries of American intelligence, saying that Russia influenced this election to try and get him elected.
Well, nobody's really proved that, and in my conversations with intelligence officials and former intelligence officials, it often takes, you don't know it in real time, who's been doing what hacking and how they've done it. Often that takes as many as 200 days, for example, is the average when corporations find out.
But there has been a concern because he praised Putin during the election.
No, but here's the thing.
And all this, how will that, especially the Balkan states? I mean, in Ukraine, they're worried. In Estonia, the
Baltic states,
the Kremlin has already called on President-elect Trump to withdraw the NATO troops from the border.
Well, President-elect Trump doesn't make any decisions on that until he's President Trump, for number one. Number two, I thought that the press release that came out as a result of their phone conversation yesterday was told a lot of things. And the translation is, when President Putin said, "We look forward to a period of mutual respect," etc. Mutual respect. Now, that's been absent from the U.S.-Russian relationship for the last 8 years. President Obama's his modus operandi is he says he insults Putin in public, humiliates him, talks about it being the wrong side of history and a declining regional power, where in private they gave him all the concessions. Now, Trump has said pretty clearly he offers respect to Putin. Putin's press release says that they're looking for that respect. But I'll tell you, Donald Trump is the toughest negotiator around. And so the fact that he has public praise and respect for Putin, and then privately probably will be one heck of a tough negotiator.
But has Putin earned that respect of the West when you're dealing with the crackdowns, you're dealing with the journalist issues, dealing with Crimea, you're dealing with what he did in Ukraine, and trying to undermine our interests?
You know, here's the thing. We won World War II, and we won the Cold War. And in doing that, we sometimes had to hold our nose and deal with allies that we didn't agree with on everything. And we worked for a common goal. Right now, the Russians have a common threat from radical Islam. I mean, Chechnya was the first place that radical Islam sort of reared its ugly head. There was a dirty bomb. It never went off, but that was the first one that was ever used, was in Moscow. So we have a common enemy. And Donald Trump has said on many occasions in his speeches and on the campaign trail, wouldn't it be good if we could work together to defeat radical Islam, and particularly against ISIS?
All right, we'll see what happens. By the way, quickly, you're on the advisory committee. What do you do?
Well, I briefed candidate Donald Trump when he was running, and I've got to tell you, I was in the room with him. He was very respectful. I was the only woman in the room. He listened to my advice, took my advice, and I found him and his instincts, his ability to get right to the main point. You know, forget about all the fluff, and he just gets right to the main point of the issue. And I found that really refreshing, because a lot of national security experts, they fluff around. He got right to the point.
All right, no fluff.
No fluff.
KT, thanks so much. All business.
Thank you.